Welcome to Dig Deep, the mining podcast. In this podcast, we go deep into mining news, hot topics, and live interviews with mining professionals and leading figures in the mining industry. Introducing your host, Rob Tyson, founder and director of Mining International and Mining International Executive, a leading global mining recruitment and headhunting agency.
Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast. And today's guest, we actually have a returning guest who appeared back in August 2000, so over 3.5 years ago, which was episodes, though he was with another company. We have Marcus Brewster, who's the COO of Tristar Gold, who are advancing Brazil's premier development project, gold development project. It's 100% owned flagship Castelo de Sonhos. I think I might have pronounced that correctly. Marcus, I'm sure, will let me know if I haven't. In mining-friendly Pará State. They're listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, and they've just completed a pre-feasibility study and now advanced permitting by evaluating optimization options. Marcus is a competent geologist and mine engineer who spent over 30 years in both technical and management positions, operating large-scale gold mines across South America, Africa, and Asia. He's the CEO of Tristar, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about the company, what they're currently doing, and what they're looking to achieve. So that's welcome, Marcus, to the podcast. How you doing, Marcus?
Hi, thanks for having me on your podcast again. I didn't realise it was so long ago that we last spoke.
Yeah, just over 3.5 years ago. So certainly we shouldn't leave it that long.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, so for those that didn't listen to that podcast, which was obviously quite a long time ago, and I imagine that a lot of the people that are listening to this podcast will know you or know of you. But for those that don't, wonder if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your career. As I mentioned, you've worked in various countries around the world and continents. So just wonder if you can just tell us a little bit about your career.
Yeah, no worries. So I'm a geology graduate and a master's graduate in mining geology from the Campbell School of Mines. And then I was advised to cross to the dark side, as it were, and get into mining engineering. So I did a master's at Campbell as well. So moved into production and started in South Africa. Found my way into West Africa with Tarkwa in Ghana, where they were developing the open pit mine there. As I said, starting in the vid space in South Africa, done exploration in Brazil for this type of ore body called Paleoplacer, such as the Castelo project is, and ended up in various technical roles within Goldfields Ghana. Started in the pits, resources manager, and ended up as general manager of the bank, which also has a Paleoplacer component. The trend developing there is I've got a lot of experience in this type of ore body, both in exploration, evaluation, and exploitation of these kind of gold-bearing conglomerates that you can find in West Africa. Another example is obviously the Jacobina Basin in Brazil, and the Castelo project as well, which is it's essentially an ancient river basin, very large fluvial system containing gold.
Right. I just wonder if you can just tell us about Tristar Gold, a little bit about the company.
Yeah, we're a Canadian company. We've got the Castelo project in southwestern Pará. I'm just going to spend a little time talking about the board because I think it's really important to highlight how good a board we actually have for a junior company. We've got Nick Appleyard as our president and CEO. Noel Jones is our chairman. He was the founder of Brewster, which was sold to Overwild in 2004. And is now subsequently being developed by G Mining. I think they will have first gold pour in H2 this year. They're just up the road from us. We've got Rod McKean, who's a lawyer with a focus for the natural resources sector. We've got Carlos Vilena, who's one of the preeminent mining lawyers in Brazil. He's also head of mining at Pinheiro Neto, who are legal advisors as well. Eric Zaunscherb, who is a geologist and former MD of Research and Metals and Mining at Canaccord. We've got Mark Isto, who's a mining engineer and former COO of Royal Gold, amongst also some quite senior operational positions. And then we've got, last but not least, Jessica van den Akker, who's an accountant and currently CFO of Core Mining. So we've got a very well-balanced board, mixture of geologists, lawyers, mining engineers, and people who have expertise in Brazil as well. So very important. Our management team, our CEO is Nick Appleyard. He's a geologist. We've got Scott Branston, based in our Phoenix office. He's a CFO, ex-CFO of Tristar Gold. And we've got Andrew Grant, our Vice President of ESG, based in Vancouver. Very strong, very experienced in the ESG sphere. And then I should really mention our team in Brazil, who are superb. We've got Fabio Moza, who's our VP of Exploration. He's been with the company for 17 years, so a lot of knowledge of our deposit and those deposits around us. We've got Fernanda Benitez, who's our project development manager. We're very lucky to have a very, very driven, very intelligent lady. We expect big things of her in the next few years as we develop this project, and we're very, very lucky to have her, as I said. There's Angela Pontar, who's our head of environment, and Fausto de Castro, who's our community coordinator. Like I said, blessed to have an exceptional team in Brazil as well. So, and what I love about them is they lend themselves to everything. We're in an environmental permitting stage at the moment, and even the geologists are getting involved with that. So, an exceptional team.
Yeah, I see. Obviously, you got a strong executive and management team there. How did they all come together, and how was the team formed?
Well, I mean, Tristar really came out of the sale of Brazil to Eldorado, and they formed a separate company. And Nick took over in December 2015 and really started to build this team around him and rebuild the team, as it were. And has done an outstanding job in what is an exceptional team of people.
Yeah, can you give us an overview of the project and I suppose what's happening currently?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, this is a Paleoplacer deposit. So the nearest analogy to us is the Tarkwa deposit and the Paleoplacers of Damang, just north of it. So both goldfields projects. Ancient riverbed, 2.1 billion years old, very old, lots of gold. So we did the PFS in 21, all through COVID. So the team did exceptionally well to get that done. We've got reserves of 1.4 million ounces at 1.1 grams per ton, of which 1 million ounces at about 1.3, most of which is in our Esperanza South pit. 11-year life of mine, the first 6 years is 146,000 ounces per year, and then years 7 to 11, 91, because we're operating largely out of Esperanza Central, which is slightly lower grade, but I think my team will agree with me. Exceptional opportunities there to increase the grade and make it a lot bigger as well. We currently know about 40% of the strike length for our deposit, and that's the beauty of these paleoplacers is the continuity at depth and along strike. So we have high expectations to build this resource and subsequently the reserve of this deposit as well. Strip ratio is 9:1, life of mine. That's fairly typical of these deposits that dip at 18 to 25 degrees. There are opportunities to reduce that, looking at the geotechnical side of things and the wall angles. Obviously, we need to do the test work first. But all of this is shallow, open pit reserve, simple, proven mining. We've got a very robust pre-feasibility study, I think. Very high recovery. We've got recoveries of 98%, and I'm sure you agree, you don't get much better than that, really. It's very clean. There's no sulfides in there. So what that means is there's no ARD signature, no acid mine drainage problems, and very low cyanide consumption in the tanks, which is a straight CIL whole leach at the moment. Power line's very close to us. We've got to bring it in 25 kilometers as opposed to our neighbors G Mining who had to bring it in 193 kilometers, and overwhelming community support. We're in an area where historically there has been a lot of illegal mining regarding impairs, and the government, both at state and federal level, have worked very hard to close that down. And we're obviously a viable alternative to that in terms of employment and community support. And that's one of the reasons that the state government do like our project. We had the public hearing in November. We're expecting 200 and 600 came along to show their support for the community, or for the project, I should say. So very good community support and strong support. We're feeling the state government as well. So and lots of opportunities, as I said, to optimize the process in terms of mining and processing, and bringing in some technology to help us as well.
What is a pale deposit, and why, I suppose, in your opinion, are they an attractive target? And also, moving on from that, obviously, you said you worked in many deposits like this. why would you say this could be more superior than some of the other deposits you've worked on?
I mean, Paleoplacer, it's an ancient riverbed. Paleo means ancient, and placer means river deposited gold. They tend to be large. Give you an example: the proposed joint venture between Anglo Gold Ashanti and Goldfields for the Tarkwa Iduapriem complex, if approved, will be the largest gold mine in Africa. It brings bulk and it brings tonnage, and these deposits tend to be continuous both along strike and down dip. They're clean. There's not many sulfides in it, particularly our deposit, as I mentioned, is very clean. And there's growth. There's quite a lot of growth potential both down dip and along strike as well. So the next steps for us are really obviously finish the preliminary license, which is the first step of a three-stage environmental permitting process. And it's in Brazil, it's a very involved and important step. The first step, it's the hardest part. We've had a site visit, we've had the public hearing, and essentially the LP is an approval of our EIA, and it's basically saying that we are ready to build this mine and we can move forward. So it is a very important step, not only for us, but it's also an important step for the local government to issue these licenses and be sure that they're issuing them to bona fide companies, basically. So, it is quite a rigorous process. They've issued their technical opinion, and the next step is a technical presentation to a technical board. And then presentation, what's called the COEMA. It's a committee of the Environment Regulating Board for the state, essentially. So, and that is the last step. And after that, we'll be issued with our preliminary license, or the LP, as you may have heard it called. We're still confident that we'll get that in Q2.
And I suppose second part of the question: how's this deposit, I suppose, different to other deposits that you've worked on before?
For me, it's more about how identical it is. It's very, very similar to Tarkwa, and very, very similar to the especially the western limb of the Domain of the Domain anticline. I stand on top of the hill in Brazil and think you could close your eyes and think you're in Ghana. So it's very, very similar to that, which is obviously great. Obviously, Jacobin is a little bit different. It has a bit more sulfides, and obviously the vid space, and there's still an argument raging about whether it's actually placer or hydrothermal. But in terms of our closest analogy, Tarkwa and Domain, it's very, very similar.
You have a strong operational background, and obviously you're the COO. How has your role changed, and I suppose what is your main responsibilities at Tristar?
I mean, I've like you said, I've stepped down from an operational role where I was actually in charge of mining operations and boots on ground. So now it's more about managing the team, and it's a small team, but a team that's willing to get stuck into anything, and managing them remotely to a large extent, which we've learned to do for obvious reasons over the last 3 years. I visit Brazil when I need to, and that will obviously increase as we go into feasibility study, and we've got a bit more drilling to do. It will become more and more operational as we move forward.
Obviously, like I mentioned, you've worked all around the world. What's attracted you to Brazil in this instance?
Well, I mean, I've worked in Brazil before. I've managed a company for Troy Resources here. My wife is from Brazil. I speak Portuguese fluently. And combined with my experience at Paleoplacer, it's a perfect fit for Tristar and for me. I do like Brazil because it's extremely supportive mining jurisdiction, particularly in Pará, the state we're in. I think it's number one now for mining in Brazil. And in particular state level, very supportive of our project as well. They certainly see us as I think a project that is worth supporting because the way we do things, we're very keen to do things correctly from the start and get the correct permits in place and the proper mining license in place as well. Relatively low labor costs in Brazil, high labor availability, good. I mean, Brazil's power grid is almost 80% renewables and relatively low cost compared to other countries. To give you a comparison, my last time in West Africa, we were looking at about 19-20 cents per kilowatt hour for power. In Brazil, we've used 8 for our pre-feasibility study, 8 cents, so half the price of my experience in West Africa. And I think Xenia G Mining's operation has just got a contract for 7.5, I think. So very good pricing for power, very supportive local community, as I said. And the macroeconomic climate is very favorable. Inflation, which was around 4.6 when COVID started, is back to pre-COVID levels of about 4.2. So it's a very good environment to work in.
And what's the current status of the project as we speak?
So we've decided to focus entirely on environmental permitting. As I said, we're near to the end of our LP process now. So as I said, we're still fully expecting to get our first license in Q2. We've done a little bit of work at the site to improve our ore body knowledge. We've been working with ALS Goldspot to help us with some work involving AI and machine learning, which has proved to be very, very interesting, actually. And the team aside have been doing a lot of bulk density test work to improve our knowledge of the rocks, properties, and SGs, so we can better estimate the tonnages of the deposit.
And just wonder if you can give us an overview of what's happening in Brazil in the mining industry. Sort of what's the trends, what's currently happening.
I mean, as you may have seen, there's a lot of activity in the lithium space in Brazil, particularly Minas Gerais state. Gold is growing. You obviously got G Mining building their project just north of us. You've got Celabi in our area as well, the Palito mine. A big focus on rare metals as well around Brazil. And obviously, Mali being one of the biggest miners in the world, are active in Pará State as well with their copper and oil operations in the area as well.
Lastly, what's the outlook for Tristar over sort of next 6 to 12 months?
So we as I said, we will hopefully receive our LP in Q2. Then we hope to get into, we've got about 22,000 meters of drilling to do to convert our probable reserves into proven and cover the first 2 years of mining, as well as some geotechnical and metallurgical drilling we need to do. And then parallel to that, we'll start our feasibility study. So hopefully the construction decision within 15 to 18 months of starting that drilling feasibility study, and providing everything goes well, probably first gold in 4 years' time.
Marcus, really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on to the podcast and give us an update on Tristar Gold. Obviously, as we mentioned, we spoke about 3.5 years ago, so maybe you want to come on next year and give us an update on the project.
That'd be awesome. It'd be my pleasure to do that.
Yeah, no worries. If our audience wants to reach out to you, if they've got any questions, if they want to follow Tristar Gold story, how can they go about doing that? What social media platform channels are you on?
We're on LinkedIn. You'll see regular updates from that. You'll see regular updates from me, so they're welcome to connect with me as well. And we've got a website with all the necessary information on that as well. So we're on Twitter as well, I think, although I don't tend to follow that, but pretty active on social media.
Yeah, we can obviously include those all in the show notes accompanying this podcast for obviously easy access. Thank you for your time. All the best for the remainder of 2024, and let's do this again in 2025.
Sounds good, Rob. Thank you very much.
Nice. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode. As always, really appreciate your continued support. Please keep sharing these episodes far and wide. Obviously not just in South America, but obviously globally as well, whether you're in Africa, whether you're in Asia. We appreciate your continued support. And until next time, happy mining.
Thank you for listening. Remember to reach out to Rob via the show notes and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, happy mining, helping each other to improve the mining industry.